Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Do not forget to hit the subscribe and all the other buttons. Branded panel wipes versus homemade, very affordable IPA or ISO, isopropanol alcohol with water and detergent. These can be up to 15 times the price per litre of the product you can make yourself. And the question we're trying to answer in this video is, which one should you use?
I wish I could fly right up to the sky, but you can't. I can. You can't.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. So branded, expensive versus cheap DIY, you know, the hack, which is worth doing. Sometimes hacks are good, sometimes they suck. Now let's just go through price per litre and some of the products that we're using in this test. First of all, homemade panel wipe. If I don't talk about the formula, someone's going to ask me 500 times, what's the formula? So 99% proof alcohol. You can go and buy 5 litres of that from Bonnyman's or a supplier. 99% proof, the strong stuff. That costs nowadays about £30. Used to cost about £15 pre-COVID. So everyone wants IPA, the price goes through the roof. Now you take that 99% proof IPA and you mix it up and you use about 25% of that IPA to about 2% detergent, APC if you like, in there. And the rest, 73% deionized water, and that will give you a reasonably strong panel wipe that you could also use as a glass cleaner, surface cleaner, and most of the work's being done by the alcohol solvent, the water miscible polar alcohol solvent. Now the argument is from the industry that IPA is not really as effective as other solvents, perhaps non-polar or other alcohol solvents or blends, cocktails of more sophisticated products that can do a better job of degreasing. If you can degrease your panels better, your bonding sealants and ceramic coatings are going to stick to the panel more and last longer. The downside is the cost per litre, real cost per litre of mixing up yourself is around about £2. You know, based on those ratios, go and work it out. You've got to buy the deionized water, DI water and the APC as well. Probably less than £2 a litre. Now if we look at these products, I'm going to go on the biggest bulk price because that's what I'm doing with the IPA, 5 litres of IPA. So this Gtechniq panel wipe costs you around £73 approximately for 5 litres, which gives you a cost of around, roughly, just give you a ballpark figure, about 14 quid per litre, isn't it? So that's 7 times roughly more expensive than the homebrew. The Gtechniq panel wipe, and this is a cocktail, sorry, of alcohol solvent, I believe, and I think it contains toluene as well, a very strong hydrocarbon. So this is a cocktail of things to give you more potency. Now, the Gyeon, I believe this costs around £41 for 4 litres, which is about 50 quid for 5 litres, so roughly about £10 a litre. So 5 times the price of the homebrew. And the Bilt Hamber product, they don't do it in the jerry can, and I've been moaning about that for a long time. I wish they did a jerry can of 5 litres of this. There'll be a reason, there's always a reason, but for me I would just love that. So £15 for 500 ml, so the cost of this product if you want to use it is around £30 per litre, which is 15 times the cost of the homebrew. And at 15 times the cost, it becomes very significant, doesn't it? So a final thing on price, guys, I give you the information and you make a decision based on that. Is spending £30 a litre too much money for you for a panel wipe? Or do you not care? Is the difference between 2 quid and 10 quid insignificant? You just want an effective product and you'll pay the money. It's not my job to answer that. Like I say, I'll give you the information on it and then you make the decision. That's what we're doing in this video. So big difference on price. Let's move on to the first test that we've done. So test 1, guys, we have our bare prepped panel. So ironically we have to machine it with a finishing polish and degrease it to give us a starting point, which is kind of what we're testing in this video as well, but we have to prep it to be able to test it. We then put a channel of polishing oil, finishing polish, down in strips, you know, just work it on with a hand applicator, okay? Then what we do is we take our products one at a time, like Bilt Hamber, we soak out an applicator, a clean microfiber applicator, we create a wet film of the panel wipe, you know, the cleanser fluid, and then we wipe it, you know, while it's still on there. We don't wait for it to vape or anything like that. Try and follow the instructions, but the product's going to act on the surface, dissolve the oils, and you wipe it off while it's still wet. And we try and do the same wiping, you know, an application and wiping technique. As I talked to you about it, it's weeks ago that I did this, so it's hard to remember exactly what I did, but I've got the footage upstairs. But I remember using the same process mechanically, you know, so like a robot doing the same thing again. Now, after we've done that with all of the products, we also do a line of polish where we don't use any panel wipe. We just wipe it with a clean microfiber, no degreaser at all. Okay, so we've got our wiped stripes of polishing oil. Then what we do is we take a ceramic coating and we apply the ceramic coating on top of those strips of removed polishing oils where we've buffed. Okay, we do not buff the ceramic coating. That was a decision I made because could well be a mistake, you tell me. A lot of times with tests, I'm just bringing you in, and there's things that I do that I make conscious decisions on that might be right or might be wrong. I didn't want to buff the coating because I was worried I was going to drag oil from around the edges and stuff like that into it, and I was also worried it would create a situation where I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between these products and the layer of coating would be too thin. What I wanted to do was put a layer of protection down that wasn't going to get eroded away easily, so that if there was a difference in durability, it would be because it hadn't bonded to the oils properly. So that was my thinking. Okay. Now, what were the observations after I'd done this test and I'd laid these products down? The first observation, and even to this day now, weeks later, I can see this, where no panel wipe was used, the line of where I wipe the ceramic coating in, it has a smeary mess to it, and I'll overlay you the shots that I took on the day, and I'll overlay you some shots now because I can still see it. If I get at an angle, the coating doesn't look crystal clear. It looks smeary and horrible. So I assume that actually the coating isn't sitting on top of the oils. It's kind of like mixed in with the oils, and it's made a smeary material that doesn't look very good. So in terms of looks, the one that looked the worst was the no panel wipe, and I can see that smeariness the best, you know, the worst. The one that looked the best, and there is no jiggery pokery being done in this test, was the Homebrew. If I look down, I can see where I applied the coating, but on the day there was no like smeary opaqueness with it. The actual coating looked the clearest. The three branded products, it's virtually impossible to tell the difference, and I'll overlay you some of the shots. And what I will say is there was an improvement with the branded coatings over the no panel wipe. But in certain places you can see, you know, the vast majority of where the coating went looks good, but you can see little tiny, almost like, buffer trails isn't the right word, but like a little disc, you know, almost like when you put a wax down of product. So a little disc of opaqueness with all of them. So at that point I was thinking, wow, that's unexpected. The Homebrew has done best in terms of making the coating look good. So that's one observation that was very important. The next thing is, what I wanted to see is then see if any of these products came off of the panel quicker. So in other words, if I left this panel outside and I'm sitting there buffing on it, would it just come off, would the coating come off where the, you know, where we didn't use any degreaser at all? The answer is no. So this panel has been outside now for weeks, and I've had the sponge on the side with detergent in it, and I've been washing this panel quite aggressively, really buffing into it with the sponge as well, to try and see if the coating hasn't bonded, can I shift it off with like the abrasion of the sponge and just washing it? The answer is no, I can't. Now, what I think, so in other words, I can't see any difference in durability. Now, a couple of things is it might not be long enough. I might need to leave these for years. I might, because I haven't buffed it, this residue might be on, or the product might be on there for years outside, and it probably will. Now the thing don't think I factored in is because there's so much ceramic coating and it hasn't been buffed, I almost think you've got like a big slab, like a thick film of coating that even if it hasn't bonded everywhere because of the mixing with oil, that film is so thick now and so hard that I don't think I'm going to be able to see the difference in where there's no panel wipe used and where a proper panel wipe is used. So in a way you could just say the test is a bit of a failure. I did some tests where I buff on the edges of the coating really hard and I can actually make the coating come away, and I thought that it was only happening on the no panel wipe area, but actually when I try it on all the other areas, if I get a microfiber and I buff really hard or even use my thumb, I can make the same thing happen. So it's almost like I can with extreme pressure like buff the coating off a little bit. It wasn't conclusive. Test number 2, we take our forensics flat test panels, we clean them, we prep them, we wet sand them, and we do 3 strips of wet sanding to give us a uniform amount of sanding. We don't want little patches and inconsistencies, so 3 nice consistent strips. We then take a finishing polish, pure finishing polish, no waxes or sealants or fillers. Someone's going to chirp in that it's got fillers. It doesn't. It's a pure abrasive, very oily polish. And it's a finishing polish rather than a heavy cutting compound, because typically you're going to want that bare prep, squeaky clean finish after doing a finishing polish as well. So I did think about using a heavy cut. It wouldn't really matter. It's going to be the same materials in the carrier anyway, isn't it? We apply a strip of the finishing polish down each sanded channel by hand. We then what did we do? We wiped off the excess, that's right, so we don't have a big thick film of it. So we've just got 4 channels of wiped polish where you can still see all the oils in the test panel. Then what we do is we load up the panel wipe into a clean cotton applicator, and we wet the bottom half of the oily channel, okay, with the product, and then we buff it using the same technique. So I did 1 swipe down and then just a little circular buff. The same thing each time with all of the products. And the results this time around are quite clear, unfortunately. The Homebrew panel wipe did a very poor job of removing the polishing oils. There's no difference between the area where I didn't wipe with the panel wipe and the area I did. They look roughly the same. There's a slight improvement, very hard to see on camera actually. So the panel wipe was clearly the worst at removing the polishing oils. After that, with a big jump up and improvement, but ultimately it's in 3rd place with how well it did, was the Gyeon Prep, where you could see a noticeable difference between where the oils were and where you wiped. But it wasn't as good as the other ones. The one in 2nd place, where there was even a further improvement, where it's getting harder now. After using the Gtechniq panel wipe, the area that I've panel wiped looks much closer to the sanded area that hasn't got any polishing oils on it. So I think it's taken a lot more out, another step up. And I can even see it now as I'm staring at it. And then the best one of the 3 is the Bilt Hamber, where it's just the line from where we didn't wipe and we did is really noticeable, and the panel has gone back to almost close to the sanded finish, and I'll overlay you better shots of this. But these 2 are quite close. I think Gtechniq and Bilt Hamber were the 2 best ones, but I'd give it to Bilt Hamber. So that's test 2, Homebrew last place, then Gyeon Prep, then Gtechniq, then Bilt Hamber. So we can conclude from this test anyway, visually, the branded products, branded panel wipes, look to be better at removing polishing oils from wet sanded filled surfaces, if you like, filled from the filling oil. So you get the idea. That's the test we've done, and I'm going to end the video with some conclusions. Final conclusions. I did a video a long time ago on how to make your own homemade panel wipe. And I talked about there, the conclusions that I came with were that I thought the detailing branded panel wipes were more effective than homebrew. But because of the price, a massive price difference, 15 times potentially with the cheapest to the most expensive in this test, what I suggested was if you're just doing wipe downs, inspection wipe downs, where you want to remove a good portion of the polishing oils to get a better view of the paintwork, then I think using dedicated detailing panel wipes is a bad idea purely based on how expensive they are. And that added strength as well, when you're polishing, you're raising the temperature of the panels, you're pushing oils into the pores of the paintwork, you're softening the paintwork, and then you're hitting it with stronger panel wipes set after set to inspect. I think you're also going to soften down the paint more, and that can be a problem with softer paints where you're trying not to do that. It's not a massive problem, I'm just thinking out loud. But mainly down to cost and the strength. For inspection wipes, I think you should have some cheap 99% isopropyl alcohol in your arsenal and mix it down the way I suggested in this video. And if you want to go elite mode, you could add some D-limonene, maybe about 5 or 10%. I haven't experimented with that, but I'm going to. And that might even improve the effectiveness of your panel wipe. Will increase the cost though, because D-limonene is expensive and hard to get hold of. Now, when you are doing your final degrease wipe down and you are putting a ceramic coating on especially, or even a bonding sealant, I think these products will do a better job of degreasing, okay? And then therefore I think it might well be worth having a bottle of these, even though they're more expensive, to do that final prep degrease, especially if you're a professional detailer and you're delivering services. You want to max them out, don't you? So I think these products will help you get a better bond. Yes, Bilt Hamber looks like it might be the strongest, although there's not much in it with the Gtechniq one. Or I say strongest, the one that's visually removed more of the polishing oils from our sanded panel. Possibly. What we're doing there as well, when you've got a sanded panel, is that different to a flat panel, you know, where the polish isn't going to get embedded so much into all of those fine sanding marks? It might be easier to remove on a normal panel. Maybe the Gtechniq one is, sorry, the Gyeon one, even though it seems a little bit milder, is perfectly suitable. Maybe the Gyeon one's been developed specifically to be used with their watery kind of abrasives that are water-based, you know, so a water-miscible solvent. This goes into a very important point that I also made in other videos, where what is the best panel wipe specifically for the polish that you're using? Because all these polishers have got different formulations. There's some old school solvent carried ones, there's some water-based ones still kicking around now, or typically there's emulsions, you know, there's some with silicone carriers. So the formulation of your panel wipe might be more suitable for a certain type of abrasive. So there is also the argument that what panel wipe should you use if you're polishing, you want to remove polishing oils? The one that your polishing manufacturer makes. So if you're using Koch abrasives, use a Koch panel wipe, for example. Or Gyeon, use the Gyeon. Or Gtechniq, use the Gtechniq, etc. So here's all the considerations, and I'm not giving you a direct, you should use this, you should use that. I'm giving you the considerations, and then you can link up the dots and decide. So, but IPA and water and detergent for inspection wipe downs because of that significant cost decrease. This is a general cleaner, maybe for glass, stuff like that, because of the cost. These for specific final preparation degreasing. That's my recommendation. One final thing that's really important, guys. When you're polishing set after set with a pure abrasive, at the end of that, I think it's a real tall order for any prep panel wipe product, whatever it's called, whoever makes it, to just get every bit of those polishing oils, whatever's in the polishing oils, silicons in some cases, glycerines, lots of times mineral oils and stuff like that, all sorts of things. I think it's a tall order for these products to get all of it off with just a dry wipe, which is what you're effectively doing. You're trying to put the product on an applicator and create a film and then wipe it off. And then sometimes some of the ceramic coating companies make mention of this. So Gyeon, for example, in their instructions for their ceramic coatings. Wash the car with Gyeon foam. Wash the car with a strong degreasing agent. Decontaminate the car with Gyeon iron and clay. If the car is scratched, make sure the paint correction is performed from a professional detailing shop. So after you've polished, here's the thing, after you've polished, always wash the car with a highly degreasing agent, hot water, and the use of dishwashing liquid are recommended. That's from a ceramic coating company. Now, the thing with dishwashing liquids is they are obviously going to be rinsable. So anything you use to clean cutlery in your plates, stuff you're feeding yourself with, you obviously don't want any of those surfactants and components in a dishwashing liquid to be left behind. So these dishwasher liquids are free rinsable, which is the first thing. The second thing is they contain typically alcohol solvents, which, IPA in some instances, small amounts of them to help with that degreasing. So using them with hot water as well could be a key thing to degreasing your car first. I'm surprised though that Gyeon are advising you to use a dishwashing liquid rather than their own product that they would create for that purpose. Missing the trick there. Why not sell a product instead of dishwasher liquid? The problem with recommending or telling people to use dishwasher liquids is they're all different. They're not all the same. A lot of them don't contain alcohol solvents. Some of them do. They use all different types of surfactants. I just find whenever I've cleaned anything with dishwasher liquid, sometimes it can be fine. Sometimes you can have little residue problems. So I don't tend to use those. I also find that, detailing or car cleaning brands will sell you stuff which can compete with the price. So that's why I don't use them. But the key thing is after polishing, they are recommending that you use hot water and a strong degreasing agent. Then, after that, ensure the surface is oil-free and completely dry using Gyeon Prep, their panel wipe product. So I thought I'd mention this. The reason it's worth mentioning as well, Bilt Hamber. So their cleanser fluid directions. Thoroughly wash the vehicle with hot, soapy water using salt-free automotive shampoos. Do not use wash and wax products, obviously, or else you're going to be putting wax down right before you're going to be degreasing it. But people do that, so it's good to give people as much advice as you can. Dry the vehicle using a chamois leather or synthetic equivalent, or drying towel, So what the important thing really, and then you go on to use the panel wipe, that Bilt Hamber as well are saying, if you're looking to bare prep hot water and detergent before you use our panel wipe. So if you didn't need to do that, there must be a reason that there's two brands they're saying that. I don't know if Gtechniq say it as well about the hot water. Directions for use. No, so they're just giving you directions to use this panel wipe. This is in their ceramic coating instructions, so it doesn't say this on their own bottle either. So the instructions here are just how to use this. But it's the fact that two brands there are talking about hot water and soap. So does that say to me that if you don't go and wash with hot water and a strong degreasing agent, the panel wipe on its own cannot give you a bare panel? And the reason I find this really interesting is after I've polished a car, I don't, at the moment, go and then wash it with hot water and degreaser and then panel wipe. I do a sort of final wipe down with a panel wipe. And I'm wondering if that hot water wash will give me a better bond. I should be doing this. That's the interesting thing. So let me know. The thing to consider is after I've polished a car, I'm a bit cautious about then washing it straight away afterwards before the protection's gone on, and then drying it as well, because you could just spend hours washing it and then wash and dry it and put in some Mara and stuff like that. So there's all these considerations, but it makes sense to me that hot water wash will really degrease those polishing oils off of the car. So there, interesting thing. That's the conclusion of these videos, guys. You should have perhaps both of these products. The cheap homebrew panel wipe with a little bit of detergent in it to act as an emulsifier, which I've talked about in other videos. So my homebrew recipe go and watch that video. I'll stick it in the description or flash it up there somewhere. The homebrew is just a little bit better than IPA and water, and I might even improve it more with limonene. You should have some of that, I think, and you'll save a fortune. You can use it, glass cleaner and stuff like that. But if you're serious about getting the most out of your product, so you might want to do, you're putting a ceramic coating down or something like that, well then you should probably have the proper panel wipe, and maybe even the panel wipe for the abrasives you've used or for the manufacture of your ceramic coating. And as always, you should really follow the instructions from guys like Gtechniq, Bilt, Hamber. These guys live and breathe this stuff. It's all they do. So they understand it a lot more than us, and the products are better. They understand it more than me as well, and this video is more exploratory, and I hope I've done it fair. And I've learnt a thing as well. It's proven to me, this is the first time I've seen with my own eyeballs, really, apart from my whiteboard cleaning, the difference between these products with removing polishing oil. So that's a positive. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when